Have you ever wondered why fasting works so well for some people but not for others? Same method, same fasting window, completely different results. One person feels energized, loses fat, and swears by intermittent fasting. Another person feels exhausted, hungry all the time, and sees no change at all. For a long time, people assumed it was about willpower, about discipline, about trying harder. But science has found a different answer, and that answer is inside you, coded in your DNA. Today, we are going to explore what scientists call the fasting genes. These are the genes that directly influence how your body responds when you stop eating. We will look at why some people thrive during fasting while others struggle. We will examine the specific genes involved and what they actually do. And by the end of this video, you will understand why your body reacts the way it does during fasting, and more importantly, what you can do with that information. Before we dive in, this is educational content to help you understand your body better. If you have any health conditions, please talk to your doctor before making changes to your diet. Now let us begin with a simple but important idea. Think about this for a moment. Some people can drink coffee in the evening and sleep perfectly fine. Others have one sip and they are awake all night. Why is that? Because the genes that process caffeine are different from person to person. Some people break down caffeine quickly, others break it down slowly. Same coffee, different effect. Fasting works the same way. How your body responds when there is no food coming in depends on many different genes working together. This is why your friend might fast for 16 hours, easily feeling great the whole time. Meanwhile, you struggle after just 12 hours feeling tired and irritable. It is not that you are weak. It is not that you lack discipline. It is simply that your genes operate differently. Research shows that genetic factors account for roughly 30 to 50% of the difference in how people's bodies process food and energy. That is a significant number. It means that a large part of your fasting experience is influenced by something you were born with. This is actually good news, because once you understand this, you can stop blaming yourself and start working with your body instead of against it. You can adjust your approach based on how your body actually works, not based on what works for someone else. So what are these fasting genes? Let us go through them one by one, and I will explain exactly what each one does in simple terms. The first genes we need to talk about are called SIRT1 and AMPK. These two work together, and they are absolutely crucial for what happens when you fast. When you stop eating, your body needs to find another source of energy. Food is not coming in, but your cells still need fuel to function. This is when certain important genes start working harder than usual. SIRT1 is sometimes called the longevity gene. Scientists gave it this name because it does many important things for your health and lifespan. It helps cells repair themselves when they get damaged. It helps your body burn fat more efficiently. And it protects cells from the kind of damage that accumulates as we age. When you fast, SIRT1 becomes more active. It is like flipping a switch that tells your body to go into maintenance mode. Instead of just processing incoming food, your body starts focusing on repair and cleanup. But here is the interesting part. The level of SIRT1 activity is not the same in everyone. Some people have gene variants that make their SIRT1 work stronger and faster. These people often see clear benefits from fasting because their repair systems kick into high gear. Studies on mice have shown something remarkable. When mice were genetically modified to lack the SIRT1 gene completely, they lived significantly shorter lives. And when SIRT1 was made more active than normal, mice lived longer and stayed healthier as they aged. Their bodies were better at repairing damage and fighting disease. Now let us talk about AMPK, the partner gene. Think of AMPK as your body's energy sensor. It is constantly monitoring how much energy is available in your cells. When you do not eat and your energy levels start to drop, AMP detects this change and sends out a signal. That signal tells your body to start burning stored fat for fuel instead of waiting for more food to arrive. Research has shown that fasting activates AMPK. And once AMPK is activated, it then activates SIRT1. These two genes work together like partners in a relay race. One senses the low energy situation, the other responds by turning on repair processes and fat burning. The connection between these genes explains why fasting can have such powerful effects on the body. But it also explains why those effects vary so much from person to person. Your genetic variants determine how strongly this partnership works in your body. Some people have a powerful response. Others have a more modest one. Now let us move on to a gene that many people are curious about. It is called FTO, and it has a big influence on your fasting experience. FTO influences two important things. First, how strong your hunger signals are. Second, how easily your body stores fat. Some people have a variant of the FTO gene that makes them feel hungrier than the average person. The signals telling them to eat are simply louder and more persistent. For these people, fasting is genuinely harder. Not because they lack willpower, but because the hunger signals in their body are actually stronger than what other people experience. This is an important point. If you have always struggled with hunger during fasting, it might not be a character flaw. It might be your genes. But here is the encouraging news. A study followed 57 people with overweight and obesity during the month of Ramadan. During this time, they fasted from dawn to sunset every day for 30 days. The researchers measured the activity of the FTO gene before the fasting month began and again after it ended. What they found was surprising and hopeful. After 1 month of daily fasting, FTO gene activity decreased by 32%. The gene that makes people feel hungrier and store fat more easily became significantly less active. And this happened even in people who did not lose much weight during the study. What does this mean for you? It means fasting can actually change how your genes work. Your genes are not your destiny. They are more like a starting point. The choices you make about eating and fasting can influence how those genes express themselves. This is a powerful idea worth repeating. The genes you were born with give you a starting point, but how you live your life can change how those genes behave. Of course, if you feel so hungry that you become dizzy or cannot concentrate, that is a sign your body needs you to stop. Always listen to those warning signals. Let us continue with another set of important genes. These are called clock and BMAL1, and they control something you experience every single day. Do you know why you feel sleepy at night and alert during the day? That is because of your internal body clock, also called your circadian rhythm. And this clock is controlled by genes, especially these two called clock and BMAL1. These genes do not just affect your sleep patterns, they also affect how your body processes food at different times of day, how efficiently you burn fat in the morning versus the evening, and even how other genes work throughout the 24-hour cycle. This is why when you eat and when you do not eat can be just as important as how long you fast. Research shows that fasting can affect many different genes depending on the time of day. The same fasting period can trigger different responses in the morning compared to the evening. Some people have body clock genes that work better when they fast in the morning and eat in the afternoon and evening. Others do better fasting in the evening and eating earlier in the day. In other words, it is not just about how long you fast. It is also about when you fast. And this optimal timing varies based on each person's genetic makeup. If you have tried fasting and it did not work well for you, consider this possibility. Maybe you were fasting at the wrong time for your particular body. Shifting your fasting window earlier or later in the day might make a significant difference in how you feel and what results you see. Now we need to discuss two more genes that affect important aspects of fasting. These are mTOR and APOE. One affects your muscles, the other affects your brain. Many people worry that fasting will cause them to lose muscle. This is a valid concern, and this is where understanding mTOR becomes helpful. mTOR works like a switch in your body that determines whether you are in building mode or cleaning mode. When you eat enough food, especially protein, mTOR turns on and your body focuses on building. This includes building and maintaining muscle tissue. When you fast, mTOR activity decreases. Your body then shifts into a different mode. Instead of building, it focuses on cleaning and repair. This cleaning process is called autophagy, which we will talk about more in a moment. During autophagy, your body removes damaged cells, old proteins, and makes room for new healthy ones. Some people have gene variants that cause mTOR to decrease very quickly during fasting. These people might lose muscle more easily because their body shifts to cleaning mode faster. Others have more stable mTOR activity and can maintain muscle better while still getting the benefits of the cleaning process. If you exercise heavily and are concerned about muscle loss, you may need to think carefully about your fasting timing and duration to find the right balance for your body. Now let us talk about the brain. Because what happens in your head during fasting is just as important as what happens in your body. The APOE gene affects how your brain uses energy. Normally, your brain runs primarily on glucose, which comes from the food you eat. But when you fast, your brain can switch to using ketones, a different energy source that your body makes from stored fat. Some people have APOE variants that allow their brain to make this switch very efficiently. These people often feel clear-headed, focused, and mentally sharp during fasting. Others have variants that make this switch slower and more difficult. They might experience what people call brain fog in the early days or weeks of fasting. Here is something interesting that recent research has revealed. People with the APOE4 variant, which is often considered unfavorable for long-term brain health, may actually benefit especially well from the ketone state during fasting. The initial brain fog they might experience could give way to improved mental clarity once their body fully adapts to using ketones. This brings us to one of the most celebrated discoveries in fasting science, a discovery that won the highest honor in medicine. In 2016, Japanese scientist Yoshinori Ohsumi won the Nobel Prize in medicine. He was honored for discovering and explaining autophagy, the cellular cleaning process we mentioned earlier. Autophagy means self-eating. It sounds strange, even alarming, but this is actually one of the most intelligent and beneficial mechanisms in your body. When you fast for a sufficient period, your cells begin a thorough cleaning process. They identify damaged proteins, worn-out cell parts, and even harmful intruders like bacteria or viruses. Then, they break these things down into their basic components. These broken pieces are then recycled. Some become energy. Others become building materials for new healthy cell components. This process is controlled by a group of genes called ATG genes. When you fast long enough, these ATG genes are activated and autophagy begins in earnest. This is one of the most important benefits of fasting, and it goes far beyond weight loss. It is about cleaning your body at the cellular level. You are essentially giving your cells the time and the signal they need to take out the accumulated trash and repair themselves from the inside out. Our ancient ancestors lived for thousands of years without regular meals. Food was not always available. Sometimes days would pass between successful hunts or foraging trips. Those who had genes that allowed them to function well during these periods without food survived. They lived long enough to have children and pass on their DNA. Fasting is not something new that modern humans invented. It is coded into our evolution. Your body knows how to handle periods without food. It has been doing it for countless generations before grocery stores and restaurants existed. The fasting genes we have discussed today, SIRT1, AMPK, FTO clock, BM, L1 mTOR, APOE, and the autophagy genes. These all exist because they helped our ancestors survive during times when food was scarce. But here is what you need to remember, and this is important. Fasting is not suitable for everyone. Pregnant women should not fast. People who are breastfeeding should not fast. Those with a history of eating disorders need to be very careful. People who need insulin for diabetes should consult their doctor first. And people who are underweight should generally avoid fasting. If you fall into any of these categories, please talk to a healthcare professional before trying any form of fasting. And for everyone else, remember that your body always sends signals. Learn to listen to them. If fasting makes you feel significantly worse instead of better after a reasonable adjustment period, that is a sign you need to make changes. Maybe the timing needs to shift. Maybe the duration needs to be shorter. Or maybe fasting simply is not the right approach for your particular body. So what should you take away from everything we have discussed today? The most important thing to remember is this: genes are not destiny. Genes give you a starting point, but your lifestyle determines where you go from there. All the genes we talked about today, S, IRT1, AMPK, FTO, the body clock, genes mTOR, APO, and the autophagy genes, all of these can be influenced by how you eat, when you eat, how you sleep, how you move, and how you live your daily life. If fasting has not worked for you in the usual way, do not give up completely. Try adjusting your approach. Experiment with a different time of day. Try a shorter or longer fasting window. Consider combining fasting with a different eating pattern. In the near future, genetic testing will become more common and more affordable. One day you might be able to take a simple test and know exactly which fasting method suits your particular genetic profile best. Until that day comes, pay close attention to how your body responds. Keep track of what works and what does not. Your body is giving you information all the time through how you feel, how you perform, and how you recover. The key is learning to read those signals and adjust accordingly. Now I want to hear from you. What has your fasting experience been like? Leave a comment below. Type easy if you find fasting relatively easy. Type hard if you find it genuinely difficult. Or type mixed if your experience varies depending on the circumstances. Here is an interesting question to think about. Would you be willing to take a DNA test to find out the best fasting method for your specific body? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you know someone who has been struggling with fasting, wondering why it does not seem to work for them, their DNA might be telling them something important. Share this video with them. It might change their perspective. Subscribe to the channel to discover more about the science behind your body and how to work with it instead of against it. In the next video, we will go deeper into one of the most important processes we mentioned today. We will explore autophagy in detail and examine how fasting activates your body's remarkable self-healing and self-cleaning mechanisms. Until then, remember this: Your DNA is not your destiny. It is your starting point. What you do with that starting point is entirely up to you.